morning. It's Monday morning. We are in Maryland again, and we have not horrible weather. It's a little cold outside, a little chilly, but it is October, so we were expecting this, right? We are ASMM Digital Small Business Connections podcast. We are the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Our idea is to give you something you can walk away with today and put to work in your business. That's important to me. I don't want to be just talking and giving you nothing that you can work on. For me, my favorite podcasts are all podcasts I can walk away with and put something into action. I've talked about it before. Lead to Win with Michael Hyatt and Megan Hyatt Miller. Huge fan of that show because every single time I walk away with something, and that's my idea for you today. Right now, the only advertiser we have on the show is ASMMdigital.com. That's my business. It's a small business, and it is here to serve other small businesses to help them get their messages in front of people using social media and digital marketing in general. So if you need us, you can reach us at ASMMdigital.com, and we'd love to help you out. We help a lot of small businesses, and we love doing it. I want to remind you, please subscribe. Again, I'll tell you because my kids think I'm a nerd because I haven't hit 1,000 subscribers yet. So you can help me out. Subscribe on YouTube or subscribe wherever you're listening to podcasts. That's the other thing is you may be listening to this as opposed to watching it. If you're watching it, then you're seeing it live most likely. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And then it will go to podcasts. It'll go to everywhere you can listen to podcasts. So Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, anywhere you can listen to it. We're on episode 88. And because we're streaming live, you can ask questions. We bring experts on the show. And I want you to be able to say, hey, I have this question. And it's also an opportunity to shamelessly plug your business. So tell us your name, tell us what you do, and then ask your question. Because we pull you pull your question up on screen and that will show. So shamelessly plug your business. Today we have Allan Hirsh. I'm excited about having Allan because I believe everybody should have a coach, and Allan is a coach. Hi, Allan. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started in a family business and continued, then did some other things. Then I bought a business and turned it around during the Great Recession of 08 and 09 and sold it in 11 and been coaching ever since.
So, and what kind of coaching do you do?
I do executive. I work with CEOs and business owners. I have worked with one or two middle managers. One person I went to high school with runs a bank and asked me to work with one of his new controller who had just come in from an audit position at their auditors. And I worked with him for 6 months, but usually CEOs and business owners.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. Why, this is something that until I started owning a business, until I became a business owner, I didn't realize how much I didn't know. So why do people need a coach?
Well, first of all, the greatest athletes in the world have coaches. They're the best at what they do, and they still need a coach to get a little bit better. So they need to work on that, and so do business owners. Business owners only know what they know. They don't know what other people know, thinking outside the box. I love helping people. I like to make a difference in people's lives. I help them think outside the box where they aren't. Mark Twain, I think it was, or it was Einstein that said, the definition of insanity is someone that does the same thing over and over again and hopes to get different results. And that's what business owners do. They do the same thing because they don't know different.
Right.
Differently.
And it's easy to get distracted, quite honestly. It's easy to get distracted by working in your business and not realizing that, oh, wait a second, I need to come up and I need to see what's happening out here and how I'm going to move forward.
Well, yeah, the biggest issue, most business owners work in the business, not on the business. And when you work on the business, you can control it. You can build trust with employees, and you can do things that you've never thought about doing. I have one client that installs doors in commercial properties, and he came out of the military. He believed that the best thing he could do was, if in the military, as a sergeant, you'd lead your troops in battle. When he got busy, he'd be in the field, and his sales fluctuated.
Right.
Every 3-4 months, it went down near zero, and every 3 or 4 months, it went up. And it took me almost a year to really convince him to change, to get out of that mode and to run the business, not be in it. And he quadrupled his sales in 2 years.
That's amazing. That's a reason enough to hire a coach right there.
Right. And I've done it with almost every one of the clients I've had. And every client has different needs. I have one that's an insurance agent that we meet once a month, and I help him think outside the box to change some of the philosophy that he's doing. He's in the same mold that he's been in for 10 years, and gives him new ideas and new thoughts and creative possibilities.
Right. Well, and there's so many other. To me, yes, I think it's great. It pushes you forward, but it also makes you stop for a minute, right? It makes you stop and say, "Let me analyze where I am." And that was when I hired my coach. Was one of the first things I said is, "I'm really good at going forward. I don't need accountability. That's something that I happen to be good at. I know it because I just move very fast. Sometimes I need somebody to say, 'Whoa, hold on, let's look at this first.'" And so it's nice to have a coach for that benefit as well.
Well, yes, and one of the things I do is I do why coaching, which I don't know whether you understand or not, but it helps you understand why you do what you do, and not what you do, because so often you people get caught up in what they do when they're networking. They talk about what they do. And they should be talking more about why they do it. What's the benefit of working with a coach? And if nothing else, for that hour or 2 hours that you meet once a week, once a month, you're stepping aside. A business owner steps aside and works, even just that 1 hour, works on the business.
Right. Right.
Running the business rather than just in the business. And it makes so much difference for those people.
Oh yeah, like I said, I've noticed it in myself. I've had several coaches. I've worked with several coaches since I started this business, and just taking that time to say, okay, today I'm doing this, right? That's been very, very helpful. So how do you choose a coach?
Well, I'm the one that coaches, so I don't know how too many people choose a coach, but I think it's someone you can trust, someone you have some kind of trust and appreciation for, someone who's been through the mill. I mean, I've run several businesses, so I have experiences that can help businesses change.
Right.
And it's a matter of trying to become close to, or being able to talk to, trying to be open and honest with. So it's really a trusting relationship that you need to find someone that you can trust.
Yeah, and the other thing, honestly, Alan, is that I find it's got to be somebody who you can talk to. So
Yeah.
if it's somebody who intimidates you, that's going to be a really difficult thing. Knowing that you can have a conversation with this person is very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, but that's building the trust,
Right.
and you can't build trust with someone you don't feel comfortable talking to.
Right.
Whether you don't like his philosophy or you do. If you do like his philosophy, then you should be working with that person. You need to be able to feel comfortable and be able to change or work with that person to make the changes that you need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Alan, right now with the pandemic, I want to ask you two questions about the pandemic. How has it affected your clients, first of all?
It has affected some. Some businesses are having problems. I continue to try to work with them because I believe in making a difference in their lives. So I want to work with them. And I've changed some of the marketing I do and some of the things that I do. I used to do a live talk radio show here in Baltimore,
Right.
Which was very limited market.
Right.
Well, I never used Zoom before the pandemic. I would go to people's offices, meet with them. We'd meet in groups, rotating among offices. We now meet in Zoom meetings and meet with the groups and meet individually. So I went to a podcast. I do a podcast now on the internet. It's called Aha Business Radio, and I'm beginning to network nationally, not just locally, to try to grow my business and work with people that are outside the Baltimore area. With Zoom and those kinds of things, you can be anywhere to work with somebody.
Absolutely. That was one of the things that I've said to people. I'm going to pull your band. I'm going to pull this up here. Aha Business Radio. And I haven't listened to it. I'm looking forward to listening to it. But it's one of the things that I've told people, what you were just saying, is that you pivoted. You added radio, right? You added a podcast. I don't think the pandemic has to be horrible for people if you think of it that way. You added something that will stay after you finish. I added this podcast and it will stay when I'm done. But I've watched people who had a brick and mortar store who opened an online store. They'd talked about it for years and they're like, oh my God, now I have to open an online.
Well, I had a client that was in the BWI airport.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
350, 450 square foot business.
Right.
And she collected emails, never did anything with them. Pandemic came, they closed the shop. She didn't know what to do. We talked about going to doing email marketing and e-commerce.
Right.
In the next 3 months, she made more money than she ever did in the store.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So, but you're going to keep the store because it's the source of additional revenue by building the list. The email list that she can now continue to sell to. It became it was a transitional. People would come and go once every 3-4 months, and she'd have them orders between them.
Right. Yeah. And I think it pushed people to do more, but I think it also pushed them in a way that what they've added is just going to be an added stream of income later. I think that is an amazing story. I love that one because it's great that she has the store that's brick and mortar, but if you're able to add something that brings something in and just kind of pushes you over, she's been collecting those emails. She knew she should have used them.
Right. But she didn't.
So, and I have to tell you, I'll go back up. I opened ASMM Campus, ASMMcampus.com for that very reason. Like I had for years said, oh, you know what? There's so many people who want to learn this stuff. Why don't I just teach them? But I haven't taken the time to do it. So in the beginning of the pandemic, I spent the first 3 or 4 weekends just recording videos of all the things that I know that I could help people with. So yeah, I mean, it's just an added stream of income. And it's a really good thing for all of us to think about doing. So you've done that. How has your business been since the pandemic? Has it stayed steady?
It's been down a little bit because of the pandemic. I continue to work with my existing clients. I am getting some new clients. So I think the future is bright for my business, for getting clients. I'm working with some other people. One of the things I've added is the idea that in 45 minutes I can find $10,000 or more in profits for companies, which is an amazing opportunity for me. And so I constantly learn. I constantly watch webinars and try to learn of everything I can about helping people work with their business.
Right.
So it's a learning experience. I love what I do.
So Allan, if you were encouraging people to learn, because I'm sure you are, what are some of the ways that you encourage them to learn?
Well, I encourage them to read. I mean, someone once said there are more books on leadership than there are on sex. And there probably are.
Right.
But there's some great books out there. One is by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. Another, I forget the names of the author, but it's the Leadership Challenge, which I use to help a business owner in leadership capability, which also helps them to build a proper kind of culture within their business.
Right.
Which I think is very important. Without a culture, you have a revolving door of employees.
Yes.
And it's very important. Simon Sinek says uh, a customer will never love the business if the employees don't love it first.
Yeah. Yeah. I worked at well, we won't say where. I worked somewhere where the person who owned the store treated the employees horribly, horribly.
Yeah,
And the number of customers I saw walk out the door, not because they were treated poorly, but because the employees were treated poorly.
yeah.
It was shocking. And the fact that he didn't see it was shocking to me.
Well, that's what a coach can do. A coach can come in and can see that,
Right. Yes.
and then can begin to work with them to change, to help them change. And unfortunately, the only person that can change somebody is themselves.
Yes.
The only thing a coach can do is help them see where they are, what they do, and help them to change.
Right.
And that's the problem of some clients that never want to change.
Right. You have to be open to it to change.
Right.
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 So I want to show you. So George Faber said, kudos to a great man. So he's watching us today. So that's very nice to have
Okay.
out there. If you're watching out there, I would love to know what other books you're reading. What are the other things you're listening to? I listen to a lot of books, but I also listen to a lot of podcasts. So I'm very interested in listening to yours. I'm going to put it on when I go for my walk later this afternoon. So I'm interested if you guys want to leave comments about that. Speaking of that, what is your favorite podcast?
My favorite podcast. I don't listen to many, unfortunately.
You have them and you don't. Oh my
I
gosh.
have to be honest. One of my favorites is actually out of someone in Boston. Solomon, I think, does some on networking and on Zoom calls
Okay.
as a coach. He works with people, and I enjoy his.
That's
I've
great.
had him on my show.
I'm really interested in seeing what happens with networking after Zoom because it is so much easier to network right now.
Oh, it is. And the thing about the pandemic, it's to me has created more time.
Yes.
It's created substantially more time. Here in Baltimore, if you have a client on the east side and you have to go out to the west side, it can be 45-minute drive.
Exactly.
And you got to make sure you're on time or early.
Right.
You're never late.
Exactly.
And traffic, it doesn't matter that traffic is there, so you have to plan it.
Yeah.
And I can get an extra meeting in.
Right, exactly. It's funny. We have midshipmen who live, they're at the Naval Academy, but their parents will come and visit us once in a while, and they're like, we live in Montgomery County, but we live 2 miles outside of DC, and they'll come from DC, and they're like, seriously, it was 7 miles, and it took me 45 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
this is how it works. You just
And with Zoom, it's much easier. I can be anywhere I need to be. I interviewed for my podcast last Tuesday one gentleman from California and one gentleman from Texas that do specific coaching. And they're not going to be on the show until November. I don't do a live show like you're doing.
Right. Yeah, I have to tell you, that's probably smart because it is very hard when you're doing a live show. So many things go wrong. And so it is very, very hard.
Yeah. And so my next one will be, I release every Tuesday.
Okay.
And I forget which the next one is. I probably should have looked this morning, but I didn't.
You know what? When we go down, you'll see. I tell you who's coming Wednesday, but I often forget.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, tell people how they can find you, Allan.
Well, they can find me on the internet at allanhirschadvisors.com.
Okay.
That's the easiest way, or they can call me at 443-977-4500.
Okay.
And they can leave me a message, or I'm not out of the office that much anymore.
Who is, right?
I work from my home and apartment, so I'm here most of the time. But I'm on Zoom calls, conference calls, and webinars a lot. So I will return calls as soon as I can, and I try to do it within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
So that's how to reach me.
That's great. That's great. So, all right, you hold on just a minute. I'm going to come right back to you. I want to tell everybody what we've got coming up next because I do have to do that. So, Wednesday, we're going to talk to Jody Hume. She also has a podcast, by the way, and she talks about leadership. But what we're talking about on Wednesday is going to be leadership myths. And I'm really interested in this because I think so many of us think of ourselves as not being a leader. And I think so many more of us are leaders than we actually realize. So I'm really excited about having Jody on. I want to remind you, because I would be amiss if I didn't, please do subscribe on YouTube. Even if you're not listening to this on YouTube, you will help a mama out because I'm telling you, my kids think I'm a nerd. So please go over there and subscribe on YouTube, but also subscribe where you're listening to this as a podcast. I want to remind you again, I know we are not in Mental Health Month anymore, but I want to remind you again that you're not alone. Right now is a very difficult time for a lot of people, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a mom or dad or sister or brother. We got news again this weekend of another suicide. It happens all the time. Because we run Burgers and Bands for suicide prevention, it is really, really close to my heart. I want to remind you that you're not alone. If you need help, please do reach out. There are so many resources. One of the ones that you may not know about is there are generally mobile crisis units in almost every county in the United States. If you're listening to this in other countries, I'm not sure about them, but I would love to hear about them. Those resources are important to me to get out to you. So if you're listening to this, and actually I think we're in over 20 countries now. So if you're listening to this somewhere else, let us know what those resources are for your country. All right, Allan, let me come back to you. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure. I enjoy this. I enjoy talking. I like to listen. And I love to work with CEOs and business owners, helping to make a difference in their careers and their profitability.
Well, and it makes a big difference if you think about how much. I was talking to the governor about probably a month before this started. I was at an event where he was, and he said that something like 70% of the tax revenue in Maryland comes from small businesses. So who
Yes.
you're helping matters, not just to the people in their neighborhood and the people in their community, but to the state at large, and then to the world at large as well. So small business owners are running this world. We just need to help them out.
And right now, in the pandemic, we need to help them. We need to work with them. We need to be calling our local restaurants, our local whatever. If they don't have outdoor dining, then call and order in. You need to help your local businesses. You need to call them. You need to work with them. And it's small businesses that create most of the jobs in this country.
Absolutely.
It's not big business. Big business will sit back, as if anybody's listened over the last month, your airlines have fired hundreds of thousands of employees.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and we hired. I don't know if you know that. We ended up hiring during the pandemic, which was a surprise to me, but it was a nice thing to be able to do. And I know a lot of people who are small business owners who were hiring. So maybe we're not hiring tens of thousands, but we are hiring, and that does matter. Allan, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, we will see you guys on Wednesday with Jody Hume. I look forward to seeing you. Bye-bye.